Starting and running a business from home is hard. You know what's even harder? Parenting. Today, I have my friend and parenting coach, Robbin McManne, coming to talk to you guys about how she went from a self-proclaimed angry mom to a peaceful parenting coach. Stick around.
You're listening to Free Mama Radio, where we believe you can have both a successful business and show up as the mom you want to be. I'm your host, Lauren Golden, a mom who built a full-time income working part-time hours. Now, I help other moms like you learn how to work from home on your own terms, take control of your schedule, and make more money so you can live a totally awesome, guilt-free life. I am on a mission to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So if you've been wondering, can I really have it all? This podcast will give you the answers. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Free Mama Radio. I'm so excited to be here today with my new friend, Robbin. Robbin is a certified parent coach, author, podcaster, and speaker. She works with parents, I think specifically moms, so lean in on this one. No, but I got a reaction. I love that. Both moms and dads, but moms, this is for us. This is our time. She works with parents from all over the world to help them build more connection and find more joy and cooperation to their parenting. Robbin is a former angry mom, and for over 12 years, Robbin juggled a full-time corporate career while being a mom and wife prior to becoming a parenting coach. And in her corporate career, Robbin has a background in marketing, public relations training, and event planning. She understands firsthand how many moms struggle to balance work and family, which is of course what we're all about here at the Free Mama. And it's because of these struggles that as a parent that she found the world of peaceful parenting, sounds delightful, and has dedicated her life to teaching parents how to build a strong family so their kids thrive. I am just really excited you're here, Robbin. How are you?
I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So let's just dive all into this. What does an angry mom look, or maybe in this case, sound like?
An angry mom grinds her teeth while she yells at her kids. She slams her hand down on the kitchen island because she doesn't want to hit her kids, but she's so full of anger and rage that she hits that counter, probably damaging her hand long term, and is so frustrated and feels like she isn't heard, she isn't understood, she isn't listened to, appreciated, and she is totally overwhelmed, spread too thin, and she is bought into the idea that we have to be all the things and we have to be all the things at once and be perfect at them, which is such a bunch of crap that it is my mission to let moms know that that is such a fake ideal that we have, that we absolutely do not have to live up to because it's not real anyway. And we end up with so much shame and disappointment in ourselves for that idea that doesn't exist. And it makes me mad even now.
I love it. I can totally hear your passion, which is something we have in common. I'm very passionate about what I do as well. So how did you, I think what's going on in my mind is I know for me, going from my 9 to 5 to self-employment world, there was a breaking point, and it was a bottom point. It was that rock bottom. And for me, and a lot of free mamas know my story, I actually had a miscarriage that made me question everything. So it was that in that low point, I kind of asked myself, who do I want to be and what do I want my life to look like? How did you go from this self-proclaimed angry mom to a peaceful parenting coach? Was this process over time? Did you have a rock bottom moment? That's a pretty big shift. So how did you go from one to the other?
Yeah. So that's such a good question. And it was over time, to understand me and my journey, you have to know the kids that I have. And I have 2 beautiful boys. One is almost 15. The other one is 12. And
they're perfect, right? Super well behaved all the time.
Yes. In fact, so much so that my oldest is my greatest gift and brought me to this work because he brought me to my knees, that sweet, beautiful boy. And he brought me to my knees in just complete and utter desperation. I did not know how to parent him. I did not know. and I would default to anger and dominance because I couldn't control him. And there was a couple of breaking points. He is and was a lot like my dad, and my dad passed away about 4 years ago, and so that was one breaking point. The year after that, we had gotten a psych ed assessment done with him. I found out that he has some stuff going on, like learning disabilities, ADHD, and he also has OCD, so obsessive compulsive disorder. And I know people say it like, oh my gosh, I'm so OCD. Well, this is not that, right? This is compulsions that you cannot control. And he also rages and has a explosive anger disorder. So you can imagine when you ask him to do something, he cannot, not only can he not do it, he will explode. And I was at my breaking point after my dad died. I kind of had I think I had almost a breakdown. And then his behavior ramped up to a level that we'd never seen before. And I don't know if the two are necessarily related, but we worked with a psychologist who did the psych ed assessment, and she wrote us a letter that was for urgent psychiatric care needed for my child. And it was like another death. It was like I couldn't believe this was happening to me, because I'm this bubbly, friendly person and I'm really good at everything I do. But holy crap, was I bad at being a mom, and I hated myself so deeply. I thought I would leave this planet. I definitely thought I would leave my family, but I thought I might leave this planet because I hated myself so much, because that's not who I am, is to yell and scream at my kids. It's not who I am, but that's what I was doing.
And it starts this cycle, right? Like the more it happens, the more you beat yourself up, the more like you're out of control, the more something triggers you. Like I've totally spiraled there before. So all this is going on. Like, what did you do about it? Like, where did you start when you decided, okay, like maybe I'm the common denominator. I can't control my child, but I can control myself. I'm assuming there was kind of an aha moment there. Like,
I had read a book. So, and I will say that work to me was a relief and a release. It was like, oh, here I get validation. Here I get
good at it.
Yeah. And people listen to me.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Like I've had that. I totally get that. There are days where I'm like, I'm going to go pour into my business because people like me there. Like I'm respected. And so I can actually really empathize with that feeling. And it's hard, right? Like now that you are not in the corporate world, you run a business, and obviously your parenting approach has changed and you've learned so much, but that's like a really unhealthy thought process. And I'm admitting, I'm confessing that I've had it. I've had it recently since we've been in quarantine, right? But I question myself. So I feel like at least I have the awareness, like, why am I doing this? Is this okay? Like, I'm not perfect. I don't have the answers. Hopefully we'll get some from you today. But when I have that tendency, I'm at least aware, like, I know why I'm doing it, even though maybe I'm still doing it. That's interesting.
Well, and that's the thing. I didn't know why I was doing it. I knew I was doing it. I knew I hated it. And I would listen to like Dr. Phil, and he would say, well, you be the adult. You're the adult. And I'm like, I don't know how. And for me to say, I don't know how, for someone, I considered myself pretty smart, capable. I'm a go-getter. I'll, do what I need to do. But why was I failing here? Why was I failing here? So, and I could go on about that too, because like, let's be honest, we don't put up a shelf without instructions. We don't cook a new meal without a recipe, but here's a child, and you were supposed to grow this child. Oh, and by the way, did you even know that you were going to be stuck reliving your own childhood through your child because they trigger your past experiences? Like, I didn't know any of that. Turns out I was yelling at my son because I was yelling at my dad because he never listened to me. And so unraveling that stuff with my own parent coach is what eventually happened. And I read a book called The Conscious Parent by Dr. Shefali Sabari. And in that book was a section, and I have a similar section in my book because it spoke to me so much, that said, I can forgive myself for losing my center before my child. I can forgive myself for yelling. And I never heard that before. I never heard that I could forgive. All I ever heard was shame, that you shouldn't do that. You are wrong. You need to change. And I knew that I needed to change, but I didn't know that I could let myself off the hook because I was so good at being so nasty to myself. And then there was another part in that book too that said that I can accept that my child is not the child I expected. I can accept that my child has needs that I don't know how to meet.
Mhm.
You know, those things too. And I never thought about that. I never thought like, oh, hang on a second. You know, and I know that I have a child with exceptional needs, extra needs, and they're really hard. And I just didn't know how to separate my needs, my pain from what he was dealing with. And that's what I've learned. I've learned that my stuff is over here, away, like over in a different pile. And my son's stuff is in a pile that is all his own, and the two aren't related. And I took his stuff to mean that he was trying to control me or manipulate me, but it's not. It's his struggle. So now I look at him as needing help, needing support. And that's how I show up for him instead of being angry and not being at peace or accepting what is going on with him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So you read this book, you've like
Yes.
learned all this stuff. I'm assuming you're starting to maybe try to start implementing this stuff, whether it's like mentally or like actually in your actions, how you're showing up. And you mentioned that you actually worked with a coach. So you're kind of going through this transformation. Take me from that place in your life where maybe you're seeing like a light, maybe not a light at the end of the tunnel. Our kids aren't out of our house yet, right? Like everybody's still home, but like you're probably more hopeful. You're not berating yourself anymore. Like you're hopeful to, I'm going to walk away from a decade-long corporate career to turn this into a business. Like, how did we, tell me about that.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, the first thing I want to tell you, because I think it's kind of funny, is I went to see Dr. Shafali at one of her live events before I hired a coach. So this was just after my dad died, and I went to see her live, and I came home so inspired, so in tune, so all of the things. And I said to my kids, you guys, guess what? I'm never going to yell again. I am never. And guess what? A week later, I was yelling again. I was mad again. I was nasty again. I was slamming my hand down again. So I completely ruined. Then I was spiraling again.
But here's the deal. Can I just give you some validation, Robbin? Like, you are not alone. I have had some soapbox moments about, and I have a live event too, but there's there's like the hype up, motivation, like whatever, but like long-term transformation, like you need someone holding you accountable. You need someone working with you. And that's actually like a whole belief system about being a part of communities and coaching and mastermind and whatever. Like there's only so much transformation that can happen in 3 days at a live event. Are they amazing? Do I go to them all the time? Yeah. Totally. But that long-term transformation, like it takes someone working with you. So I just want to offer you like, you are not the only one going home, like super ready for like a whole new life who probably fell off the bandwagon, because it's harder to break habits than going to one event.
Yeah. And life doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? No. Stuff keeps happening. And it's like, I've lost the high and now I'm back to where I was, right?
Exactly.
That's such a good point, because having someone hold you accountable, having somebody be able to see your blind spots that you can't see. Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing. With the work that I was doing, I love marketing. I loved the company that I worked for. It's one of the biggest companies in the world, and I felt really proud of the work that I was doing. But I knew that I wanted to make a difference in this world. That's really, truly true. And it sounds so Pollyanna or whatever, but like I knew that I wanted my life to make a difference. I wanted my life to matter, at least in some small way, to other people. And I could not deny the transformation that I felt. My son at the time and now as a teenager says, Mom, you really get me. Like, you get me. And he also said that we're like a designer family, the kind of family everyone wants, which is just like, I don't know, a better thing that you could hear from your child.
How old is he now?
So he's almost 15.
He's almost 15. Does he remember Angry Mom?
Oh, yes, they do.
They do.
He's like, yeah, Mom, you're doing better now.
That's so awesome.
He's the best. And you know what? I will say too, both my boys are just so adorable. And my oldest gives me permission to talk about him. So I like to just say that, because I would hate to, not be, not keep what he wants to keep private, right? So
Yeah.
he allows me to use it as a teaching tool, and he's taught me so much. I mean, there's almost no situation that I've never been through. Anyway, back to the business side of things. I knew that I was going to leave what I was doing. It no longer served my heart and the purpose that I had. But holy crap, is that scary, right? Like
Totally.
really, really scary. It just so happened that the same boy that I keep talking about had a major accident where he had to go for emergency surgery, and I took some time off to be with him. In that time, something changed with my company, and I ended up actually getting a buyout. That's a really short version of the
Wow.
story, and so I was really happy to get a
Divine
buyout.
intervention.
Yes. Oh, no doubt about it. There was
Wow.
magic happening to make this happen for me. So basically, I was able to get paid for a year while I was building my business. And
Wow.
that's how
That
it really
is
started. But I always had that drive to do something meaningful, really, truly meaningful. And I just needed to be on my own too.
And so how has that been for you? How long ago was this? How long have you been in business?
Yeah, so 2017 is when I really started to really work the business, be in the business, start to take on clients. Within a year of launching my book, I have had $1 million in sales of my book, which is so exciting. And my book is only $5.90. I just want to say that's like a
Oh
big
no, we'll be
deal.
dropping the links. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. I was hoping to get done with it. I love it because it's actually an ebook. And I don't know, I don't know if you have it in other ways in other places, but that's what I bought from you. And I love it because I like read it on my phone at night. So it's like right at the end of the day, kids are
Yes.
gone, I'm quiet, and I'm very reflective of my actions and behavior from that day. And I'm like, this is a nice little reminder. Maybe we'll do better tomorrow.
Right?
So it feels like this little comfort tool in my hand. I'm like, I have it, and it's called the yelling cure, right? The yelling
Right,
cure.
yeah.
Yes. I'm like, I have this yelling cure, and it's great because, and I shared this with you. I loved it right off the bat. There's so much value because it's very scientifically driven.
Mhm.
It's not a bunch of like woo woo stuff, but like, we get it. We know we shouldn't be yelling. Give me some, like
Yeah.
something I can hold on to and keep coming
Yeah.
back to. And I love that because I'm very practical, and it made it super real for me. I'm like, wow, this is great. So we will definitely drop in the show notes how they can go find your book and read it. It's an easy read. It's a quick read, but it's really impactful. I've super enjoyed it. So before we dive into your best parenting tips, because while I have you, I am going to get some coaching out of you, Robbin. Before we dive into that, I have kind of an offhanded maybe question that I would love to ask. Like, what does your husband think of all of this?
Such a good question. Yeah. So that is such a good question. Nobody really asks me that. I love it.
That's what I've been dying to know.
Yeah. So my husband, incidentally, I have known him since I was 15, and he is just the best person in the world. Yeah. He was naturally a more peaceful parent than me. Damn it. Get so mad. And then at the end of the night, I'd cry and I'd cry and I'd cry and I'd tell him how horrible I am. And he's like, babe, you're not that bad. But he was just able to, and he's the yin to my yang, right? Like I am the one who is emotional. He's the steady one, right? And so he never needed the help. I needed the help. And so I hired the coach. I worked with the coach, and I would just share with him. And he really just copied what I was doing, right? I would say that we do have some conflict because of parenting, even now, where I'm like, stop lecturing, stop talking so much, like, right? Because nobody listens to
It's too
lectures,
balanced,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, you just do that for yourself. But anyway, so yeah, he and I work really well together now. He hasn't taken it. Some days I think he should work with me, but it's not going to work.
In your
But most of
business?
the time- no, as a coach.
Oh,
Like I need to
oh,
coach him. I'm like, babe, why did you get so angry just then? I'm just curious. Like, what are you feeling right now?
You got to know your role. Know your role, Robbin. You got to be the wife. You got to be the wife. That's awesome. And was he supportive of the idea of you becoming a
Yeah.
parenting coach, or was there some kind of like, what is that? Is that a thing? Like,
Oh yeah, he definitely. So really supportive of that. Knew, I had already before the buyout had already taken my certification. So I was already certified, and I was going to sort of do it on the side, and that was the plan. And so, yeah, it was kind of a non-issue, and he's been so supportive, so supportive.
That is fantastic. Well, I
Yeah.
want to really dive into some nitty gritty. You've worked with a lot of parents. You have a
Yeah.
lot of experience of your own that you bring to the table. Plus, you just mentioned your certification. So you're not
Yeah.
just like trial by fire. Like you've actually like studied this. And like I
Yeah.
referenced in your book, like there's so much actual scientific stuff going on biologically that really can help
Yeah.
us better understand our children. So if you could hit me with like a top three parenting tips, if I want to go from a yeller to a non-yeller, if I'm looking to maybe control my anger, just maybe in generalizations, or if you have specific parenting situations, you want
Yeah.
to say like, these are the most three common triggers I see and how you can deal with them. But like, let's lay like three secrets of being a non-yelling parent out on
Yeah.
us.
Yay. Oh, I'm happy to do that. Okay. The main thing that I get asked is, or what I hear is, my kids don't listen to me. Okay.
My
So
kids don't
yeah,
listen to me.
right. Right. And so here is the trick. And incidentally, my husband uses this trick with me because I'm not a very good listener, because I'm always thinking about my business, right? Like always, right? So what you have to do is, you've got to be aware when you're asking your kids to do something, where are you and where are they? Most of the time, we're in the kitchen or in our office or upstairs, and they're not even close to us. So we're just kind of noise, right, in the background. And what you need to do is you need to resist the urge to yell from across the house or the room or whatever, and go to your child. So you go to your child. And the reason why is because our kids get so wrapped up in whatever they're doing. If they're playing make-believe, they are in that world. If they're watching a show, they're in that world. If they're playing a game, if they're playing Lego or playing Barbies or whatever they're playing, they are consumed in that world. And so we need to go to them, make a connection with them, and break the spell, break them out of this make-believe world. And we do that by, going up to them, giving them a little levy, like a little rub on their shoulder, a little something on top of their head, something like that. And just say, hey, bud, hey, listen, hey, guess what? It's time to go eat. So you make a connection, then you make your request, and then you take them. You go, hey, come on, let's go together. Here, I'll take you over to the table. Let's go. Right? And I'm going to give you a different example, because this one the going to the table doesn't necessarily relate to this, but then you give them any help they need. So what I mean by that is, let's say you've got to leave the house, right? And I used to hide from my neighbors because I thought they thought that I was the worst mom in the world, because I was always yelling at my kids in the garage, right? Like, get in the car, stop hitting your brother, or put your seatbelts on, all those things, right? Horrible.
None of this is relatable, by the way.
No, not at all, right? Yeah. Thank God they moved away. I didn't know how to actually, I was so paranoid. Anyway, so what you want to do, connect. Okay. Hey, bud, I know you're playing Lego right now, but you know what? We've got to get going. We've got to go. So come on, let's go to the door together. I know people have multiple kids. I'm going to just say it as though we have one, but I hear your voices. I know. And then what you're going to do is, you are going to give them any help they need. So if they need help getting their shoes on, help them with their shoes. This is not a time to should all over them and say, oh, you know what? You were able to do your shoes yesterday. Why do you need help today? Or how come you can't fix your jacket yet? How come you can't do your zipper? No, give them the help they need, because we actually want our kids to be dependent on us in order for them to be relaxed enough for their independence to grow. They need to lean on us before they can stand up on their own. And here's the thing with kids too, and there's so much more I can say about developmental stages and that sort of thing. Our kids are at one level 1 minute and at a different level another minute, and may be able to do something one day and not something the next day. So many times parents say to me, well, I know she can do it. Well, maybe she can, but in that moment, she needs your help, and that's okay, right? We're modeling kindness. We're modeling helpfulness, and that's not a bad thing. We're not coddling our kids when we do this. We're just saying, hey, how can I help you? Can I meet you where you are instead of where I think you should be? So
That's good.
that's one. Okay. So how to get them to listen, and just how to help them out, how to get out the door peacefully.
So what I heard at the beginning, though, just so I can paraphrase back to you in one sentence,
yes.
don't be lazy. Like I feel like I do it because I'm lazy. I'm like, I'm in the kitchen. I don't want to walk upstairs. That's really hard. Get down here.
Yeah.
I think like it is like, that's what I received from you was like, Lauren, I understand you're tired. You don't want to yell. Don't be lazy. Put in the effort. Go help. Go do whatever. And I think, that's kind of harsh, but that's my assessment of myself. When I get myself in the situations you described, I'm kind of being lazy towards my kids. Like,
well, and here's the thing. Oh my gosh, you have it so right. And the thing is that you're going to have to put the effort in whether you like it or not,
right.
because you're putting the effort in at the end.
When you, yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So why not put and I say this all the time, put the effort in on the front end so you don't have to deal with the stuff on the back end. I don't want to swear. Because imagine the way you're leaving the house now with kids crying, kids unhappy, and
blood pressure.
The last thing you want to do. Yeah, but the last thing you want to do is part ways when your kids are at school or at daycare or wherever they are and everybody's crying, right? It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, right? Okay, so thank you for saying that, because that is exactly the point. So the other thing is meltdowns. That is something I hear a lot. And this
Never
is
heard
where
of that. What is that?
Right? I know. Hey, look, and we have our own meltdowns too. And, and the thing is about it is that a lot of time parents don't understand what's really going on. This is where the whole brain science piece comes in too. So parents don't understand that meltdowns are not manipulation. Okay, they're not manipulation. They are not there to embarrass you in the grocery store in aisle 7, and everybody around can see. They are not behavior either. Meltdowns are not behavior. What meltdowns are emotions that are out of control. That's it. They're emotions out of control. It means that our kids and us, when we have meltdowns too, have lost their ability to connect with the rational thinking part of their brain and are living in this middle brain, which is emotional brain. And so when you talk,
how do we support a child who's in middle brain?
Exactly. So supporting a child in the middle brain, well, first you have to make sure you're in your higher brain, your rational thinking. Oftentimes we say to our kids, just use your words or cut it out, or can you just stop crying and then we'll talk? Like, why can't you just tell me what you're feeling? They have no ability to do that. So instead, what you have to do is let your kids feel their feelings. You can say, I know you need to cry right now, and that's okay. You can cry right now. And in fact, the act of accepting a meltdown and saying, yes, of course you're upset, my love. Of course you need to cry, will make a meltdown way shorter than if you were to say, well, you just cut it out. You're embarrassing me. Stop it right now. And whatever else we say, right? Because they can't. And our kids are so good at feeling their feelings. They come to us being able to feel their feelings, but it's us as adults. We're the ones not comfortable with our kids expressing their feelings, but they have no other way, because it isn't until the age of 7 that our kids grow that higher brain, that rational thinking brain. And that rational thinking brain, incidentally, doesn't complete its growth until the age of 25. So think about that.
Yeah. Oh man, I already had a kid by then, which is terrifying. I hadn't reached my highest brain.
No, right? Yes. Yeah. And so I think about my 15-year-old, and he's still got 10 years to go, right? So don't freak out, you guys. Don't. Most of the time, this stuff is temporary anyway, right? And we take this moment and we catapult ourselves into the future, and we think that this is it. Like, my kid's always going to be this way, and it's not true. So it's just not
good.
true.
That is so good. So what's number 3 you've got for us?
Okay. Well, number 3 is what you do when you're faced with disrespect, you're faced with refusal to do something.
Okay, you just really nailed this today. I gotta say, I am like, all this is sounding very familiar.
That's great. This is great. Well, these are the top 3. So let's say you've gone and you have connected with your child and you've said, come on, love bug, let's go get your shoes on. And your kid looks at you and is like,
nope.
Says things in their look and in their words, like, I'm not going with you. I don't care what you say. I'm not doing this. And that is like, okay, now I'm starting to feel that like rage rise in me. And what we do is we attack the no that we just got said. Right? That was just said to us. Sorry. We attack the no. How dare you say no to me? Don't you know what we're doing right now? We're going to go to the park and that's what you want to do. And I'm doing this for you. And how can you say no to me? How dare, blah, blah, blah. Right? All those things. But what you've missed is why. Like, how come? How come you don't want to go right now? Let's talk about it. Right? Because like, isn't it important that we know what our kids want too? Like, this isn't a dictatorship. Like, what if your child just wanted to finish 6 or 7 pieces on the Lego fort they were building or whatever it was. And if you just asked why, and he said, I just want to finish this really quickly. Can I have 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? You could be like, oh yeah, of course, sure, no problem. But I need you to come right away as soon as that's done or done, or can I help you or whatever? Problem solved.
So what do we do if it's not that easy? What do we do if it's, I don't want to go with you? Like, you know what I mean?
Okay,
What do we do if
yes.
we're met with more resistance? Because I can see that working with my 3-year-old, but like my 8-year-old, she's a smart cookie. Like,
Yeah.
I have another agenda.
Yeah. And you and I can even role play this too and just be like, okay, well then how come you don't want to go? So, okay, I hear you. You don't want to go. How come? And then she'll say, whatever she says, I don't like the long drive, or it's boring when we get there, or whatever, right? So then we work with whatever she says. Okay, it's a long drive. Okay, I get that. What if we were to play like the most awesome music in the car ever? Like, let's have a sing along. Do you want to do that? Do you want to play the DJ? Do you want to pick all the music? Or do you want to bring your book? Or how about if I let you play on your iPad for the way there, right? And then we'll get a snack for the way back. What do you think? Right? Or like, it's all about creating a win-win for everybody. A win-win,
like
a win for your child and a win for you. And by the way, when your kids help come up with a solution, they're much more likely to follow through with it because they helped to come up with it and they're proud of that. And it's like, my mom listens to me. It means I have a voice. It means my voice is valuable. And that is huge. That's everything.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And just to sum it up, the antidote to your child refusing is just to say, how come? Like, why? How come? And then you go from there. Yeah.
So simple. So simple. Peel back the layers, right? They're their own little people. That is so good. So, Robbin, I shared with you before we started recording what the Free Mom is all about. And our mission is to make sure no mother should have to choose between family and financial stability. So kind of knowing who we're talking to and who we've had listening to us today, what is one final piece of advice? And it can be parenting or business or making that leap, anything you'd like to pour into them. Just one final piece of advice that you'd love to leave the moms with who are listening today.
I would just say that, you got to go easy on yourself. That if you are struggling in your business or you are struggling with your parenting, this moment doesn't define you and it doesn't define your business. That it's okay to make mistakes. And this is peaceful parenting. This isn't perfect parenting. And that doesn't exist. And that's, what I said at the beginning of this whole thing. It's a bunch of crap anyway. And, there's no such thing as perfect. And there's more than one route to the destination. What works for one person might not work for another person. And that's okay too. So I would just say, go easy on yourself and really know that to make mistakes and to fail and to have missteps, that's a shared human experience. We're all experiencing that, not just you.
Oh, that is so good. Robbin, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight. Plus, I learned a lot and got a couple new little tools to put in my parenting toolkit. I can't wait to finish your book, The Yelling Cure. Like I mentioned, we will tell everybody in the show notes how they can connect with you, how they can get a copy of your book and join your world. Robbin, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Free Mama Radio. Don't forget to check out Free Mama TV right here on YouTube for hundreds of how-to videos and interviews to help you start, grow, and scale a virtual business from home. If you want to join a community of tens of thousands of moms just like you, make sure you join the Free Mama Movement group over on Facebook. And lastly, if you want to learn more about how we can do this together, work to achieve your goals, and make you our next success story, check out my free training at thefreemamamovement.com. I'll see you next time.